Football Prodigy's Revenge, Ban Teen to World Cup Hero. Like, share, and subscribe. Episode 111. Klopp's determination, Liverpool fights back like crazy. Anfield Stadium. Klopp stood on the sidelines, smiling bitterly, looking at Chu Feng. When Chu Feng looked over, Klopp also tilted his head slightly at Chu Feng, expressing the helplessness that Chu Feng made him feel. Klopp felt helpless before he could equalize, but he still wouldn't choose to defend. He continued to clap his hands on the sidelines, and the commander players continued to attack. Klopp believes that as long as they continue to attack, Liverpool will have a winning return. Leicester City coach Ranieri was full of smiles, and he was already invincible in this battle. Match 67th minute. Liverpool defender Emre carried the ball in front of Leicester City. Emre split the ball straight to the side, and Henderson, an unguarded defender on the right side of the Leicester City penalty area. After Henderson stopped the ball on his chest, fullback Fox intercepted it in front of the box. After Henderson adjusted, he sent the ball to the box with a direct and precise guidance. Leicester City scored 3 players in front of the spot, and 2 players from Liverpool jumped high, but the ball fell too high towards the back post. Liverpool centre-back Lovren, who was plugged in from behind, stepped forward at high speed and jumped high against the ball as a headpiece. A ball can hit the crossbar and the ball can be ejected from the penalty area with great force. Lovren, who had used too much force, also fell down in the Leicester City restricted area after the hammer was used. Leicester City escaped another fate. Klopp on the sidelines put on the mask of pain. 70th minute of the match. Leicester City were snatched by Liverpool at halftime. Striker Lalana dribbled the ball at high speed towards the right side of the penalty area. After moving into the penalty area, he was intercepted by centre-back Hutter, under the interception of Hutter. Lalana opted for an inverted triangle pass and sent the ball to Origi, the senior in the middle. Origi sped in and shot straight at goal, before 3 defenders in the Leicester City penalty area intercepted him. Goalkeeper Kasper struggled to pounce on the ball, but the ball was too fast to make a save. When Kasper thought the City gate was about to be lost, the ball crossed the post slightly and rolled out of the bottom line. Origi collapsed on his knees on the lawn. Even Klopp, who was standing on the sidelines, angrily turned back and kicked into the seat. Klopp always felt that today's luck was always a little bit worse. 73rd minute of the match. Liverpool once again scored into Leicester City's halftime. Lalana held the ball against 3 Leicester City players on the edge of the Leicester City penalty area. Lalana dribbled the ball to attract Leicester City players defending Phil Milo. Stuffed the ball into Phil Milo. Then continued to the middle of the run. The Leicester City defender, who had been attracted, turned to look at Firmino again. Firmino did not stop the ball, but knocked the ball back to Lalana as he picked it up on his back. The two completed a collision with the wall. Lalana received the ball and faced the Leicester City defender, who was drawn in. Sending a straight kick, it directly penetrated Leicester City's defensive line and rolled towards the penalty area. After inserting Liverpool defender Emre at the back point to pick up the ball sideways, he completed the turn with a left foot dunk and then adjusted his left foot to hit the goal. Leicester City centre-back Morgan had already intercepted the firing route. Emre adjusted to the right again, ready to find an angle to hit the goal. Unfortunately, Morgan had already reached out and snatched the ball from his feet. The fallen Morgan continued to send the ball out of the box. Emre's excessive adjustments in the Leicester City penalty area as a defender once again allowed Wawara's attack to fail. Liverpool players, who missed another chance, continued to attack. The 76th minute of the match. Firmino took the ball on the right and headed into Leicester City's half. Facing the bag of 4 Leicester City players on the left and right. Phil Milo pasted directly to the Leicester City players on the left, completing a horse that rushed straight out of the encirclement. Then dribbled the ball towards the outside of Leicester City's penalty area. Surrounded by 3 Leicester defenders and 2 defenders, Firmino flicked the ball toward the center. Origi, who was plugged in from the back, was ready to raise his foot to shoot. But defender Danny Simpson came close to break the ball out of the line. The Liverpool fans, who had already begun to cheer, stopped. John's Premier League broadcast station. Firmino's excellent personal ability to deliver a one-handed ball for his teammates. You can let Origi step in a little slower and let the Leicester City defender destroy the ball. Liverpool completely overwhelmed Leicester City despite their continuous attacking rhythm. And I've also caused danger to the Leicester City goal many times. but Liverpool have been in an overwhelming prison position, and many excellent opportunities have not been seized. The narrator comments on Liverpool's continued attacking rhythm. Fans watching the broadcast. Am I super? Why is Origi so useless? A good one-knife ball is ruined. Alas, what happened to the Liverpool players today? I don't feel like I have any shooting boots, and I can't get every chance. Don't say, if you take the opportunity. Liverpool are already 5-4 Leicester City, the score is. Oh. If you can seize the opportunity every time, Leicester City will not only score 4. If the opportunity can be so easy to grasp, what else to play? Chu Feng is awesome. Chu Feng, come on. Of the Anfield massacre. In the face of Liverpool's crazy attack, although the physical fitness of Liverpool players is also rapidly declining, the Leicester Place players in the defensive are not comfortable. Players on both sides are constantly adjusting their breathing in the gap time. 80th minute of the match. Leicester City forward fielders are tapping into Liverpool's heartland. At midfielder Alberton was ready to catch a pass from a teammate in the middle. Liverpool defender Henderson struck out to cut the ball off. The ball was delivered to Origi's feet. Origi was too fast to control the ball, and had to knock the ball back to Henderson on his heels. I started to speed forward to plug in. After Henderson received the ball, he observed the running position of his teammates on the field. The ball was sent straight to the middle and ran in front of Coutinho. Coutinho ended up being intercepted by Leicester City 2 centre-backs, Morgan and Hutter. Coutinho used the tempo shift in front of the two and suddenly turned into the penalty area. Face the redefended Morgan, stretched out his foot to intercept. Coutinho went straight to the goal. Goalkeeper Casper blocked the near corner of the goal. But the football jumped to the far corner. Goal. Coutinho finished scoring twice. Helped the team get a point back. Coutinho rushed to the sidelines, punching. And the Liverpool fans who were present began a crazy celebration. The whole Anfield Stadium started to swell again. The Liverpool players who followed also rushed to Coutinho to celebrate the goal with him. Episode 112. Chu Feng big for joy, desperate Klopp. Anfield Stadium. Klopp on the sidelines also bowed his head slightly, shaking his fists in his hands in celebration. Klopp knew that as long as he kept attacking Leicester City's defense, the lack of physical fitness would become more and more serious, and finally Liverpool would finally score. There are still 10 minutes left to score 2 more goals on your own. Klopp has been thinking about winning since he was 2 goals behind, not simply forcing Leicester City. He was going to be the only one in Big Six to win against Chu Feng. And Ranieri began to feel a little uneasy in his heart. Leicester City has not posed a threat to Liverpool's back line for a long time. Thank you. Leicester City will certainly not be able to defend. John's Premier League broadcast station. Henderson stole the ball from Leicester City and passed the ball to Origi. Origi had trouble controlling the ball and knocked the ball back to Henderson, who, after holding the ball, directly crossed the ball to find Coutinho, who was inserted into Leicester City's half. Coutinho faced the defense of 2 players and suddenly changed to insert himself into the box to finish the shot. Goalkeeper Casper can't block it, goalkeeper straight into the far corner. Coutinho finished the twice, helping the team pull back a point. Now the score is 3-4. Liverpool are temporarily behind Leicester City, who are playing away. Facing Liverpool's goals after multiple attacks, the commentators were moved by them. Fans watching the broadcast. I'm super. Coutinho's breakthrough ability can be. Finally helped Liverpool score. Is it coming? Is it coming? Leicester City has reached its limit and is about to collapse. Liverpool conservatively estimated 3 goals for the next time. Liverpool are finally going to terminate Leicester City's unbeaten record. Liverpool's awesome. Keep attacking. Let them taste what a tragedy is. Aren't Liverpool still 1 point behind? How to say it as if you were going to win. If you don't understand the situation, don't talk. Although Liverpool were still 1 goal behind for the time being, many fans watching the game seemed to be sure that Liverpool were going to win. Anfield Stadium. Match 86th minute. Liverpool were cut off by centre-back Hood on the edge of Leicester City's penalty area. Hutter passed the ball back to goalkeeper Casper. But it was a mistake under the high pressure of Liverpool striker Coutinho. The ball was passed back without strength and was kicked back into the middle by Coutinho. After Firmino in the middle of the road had the ball in possession, he wanted to cut the ball straight through Leicester City's defense and give it to Origi, who was inserted forward. Leicester City centre-back Morgan quickly fell to the ground to block the pass. The ball bounced back into the centre and Liverpool back Emre, who was originally in the Leicester City backline, rushed out. After controlling the ball, he turned around and shot, and the ball jumped over the defensive line and rushed to the goal. Goalkeeper Kasper flew to the rescue and blocked the ball. Fullback Fox kicked the ball off the line. Match 88th minute. Leicester City midfielder Alberton sent the ball to Liverpool's half with a long pass, and Chu Feng on the left took control of the ball. Chu Feng moved towards the penalty area, because the Liverpool players were blocked one after the other, and Chu Feng was difficult to speed up. Chu Feng passed the ball directly to Vardy in the middle. Vardy had just dribbled the ball ready to turn his back on Liverpool centre-back Lovren. Lovren subconsciously took a step back as he saw the ball passing behind him, stepping directly on Vardy's outstretched left foot. Vardy fell to the ground in pain. The referee did not hesitate to blow the game to a halt. Because Lovren had no intention of committing a foul, he kept expressing his innocence to the referee and finally did not receive a yellow card. But Leicester City still won a free kick on the edge of the penalty area. Chu Feng walked towards the free throw spot. Liverpool players are lining up the wall. Goalkeeper Minale kept his teammates moving. Chu Feng stood behind the ball and began to measure the distance of the football. Look at the goal, aim. Suck. Phew. Chu Feng constantly adjusted his breathing rate after running for 90 minutes with a crisp whistle from the referee. Chu Feng helped run. Right leg with force. Kick the tip of your right foot hard towards the center of the football. Just as the tiptoe worm touches the center of the ball. Quickly lift upwards. The ball flew straight towards the human wall. The Liverpool players also wanted to use their heads to resist Chu Feng's shot until the ball jumped over their heads. Then the ball suddenly moved from side to side. Then the plunge was extremely fast. Liverpool goalkeeper Minale is still judging the direction of the football. When Mignolet began to move, the ball has already flown into the net. Goal. Chu Feng once again broke through Liverpool's goal with his signature leaf ball. Finished the senior year. Chu Feng began to run to the side of the field, slipped to his knees and made 2 long marks, got up and began to swing his fist to vent his excitement. He was finally able to conclude that he could reap this victory. The teammates behind them also rushed over and hugged Chu Feng. They knew that the team had already won. Summer Kingdom. Premier League broadcast room. The referee awarded a free kick. Judged a free kick on the outskirts of the Liverpool penalty area. This is Chu Feng's range. Chu Feng has scored almost all of his free kicks in this position in this season's Premier League matches. It's a big test for goalkeeper Minale. Chu Feng adjusted the distance and breathed. Chu Feng hit the football vigorously. Football streaks across the human wall. It flew straight to the dead end. Chu Feng completed the of the 4th year. He killed the of the game ahead of time. After Chu Feng's free kick broke the goal. Liverpool trail Leicester City 3-5 at home. Jean Jun explained excitedly. The barrage in the live broadcast room is full of screens again. I'm super. Chu Feng has completed the senior year again. Chu Feng. The extranet is just blowing Liverpool to score. Liverpool is going to win. Now I look at all of them and don't speak. Chu Feng's free kick feels a bit incomprehensible. Chu Feng stood in the only free kick slot. Episode 113. 5 Sons Denko. Unexpected goals. Klopp sat decadently in a seat on the sideline. Klopp has given up on the counter-attack, and the rest of the time in stoppage time to fight 3 balls. Klopp does not want to fight Leicester City for a draw. Leicester City's players were injured, and the last to profit was Leicester City's opponent Manchester City in the next round. So the conductors on the sidelines began to slow down. On the other side, Ranieri was sitting in a chair, as steady as Tarzan. Last stoppage time is 4 minutes. Liverpool attacked. Phil Milo had already dribbled into the heart of Leicester City with the ball. Facing an interception by 3 Leicester City players in front of him, the ball was distributed to Coutinho on the left. Coutinho passed the ball again to Origi in the middle. After Origi took the ball on his back, the centre-back Hutter kept himself stuck close to his position, preventing him from turning comfortably. Change passed the ball back to Coutinho. Coutinho didn't stop the ball and went straight out to tuck the ball into the box. After figuring the ball on the left side of the penalty area, Firmino, who had just plugged in, pumped the ball from a tight angle and was blocked by Kasper. There are less than 2 minutes left in the game. Leicester City attacked. Goalkeeper Casper threw the ball to Canty. Canty got up and split the ball down the left. Alberton on the left side received the ball and faced the pressure of a Liverpool player. A foot was sent straight to Chu Feng's feet. Chu Feng carried the ball, Liverpool back Henderson, fullback Klein, and midfielder Phil Milo all intercepted in front of him. Chu Feng could not increase his speed and looked at the remaining time of more than 40 seconds. Chu Feng was also unwilling to force a breakthrough anymore. Just close to 40 yards from the goal. Start twisting your whole body as hard as you can. The right leg is pumped towards the soccer ball, at which point the instep of the right foot strikes the inside of the soccer ball at an almost 0-degree angle. Footballs fly in the air at high speeds. Draw a huge melon degree. Then shoot straight into the goal. Minale is now inside the big penalty area. Subconsciously pounce on the football. But it was too fast, and Minole reacted too slowly. Minale could only look back and send the ball into the net. Goal. The ball is in. Chu Feng did not rush to celebrate, because Chu Feng himself was stunned. He just didn't see enough time and was unwilling to force a breakthrough and be injured by someone fouled. So choose a foot in the door from a long distance. Didn't expect to really get in. Klopp on the sidelines touched the back of his head and was stunned. Such a goal, no one would not be shocked. Even Liverpool fans at Anfield were shocked. Several Liverpool fans stood up and applauded Chu Feng, slowly forming a group, a piece, and then the whole stand, the entire stadium. Liverpool fans stood up and applauded Chu Feng for his play today. And his full moon curved knife that ended the game. Chu Feng, who was standing in the same place, would finally come to his senses in this loud applause. He also clapped his hands together, showing respect for Liverpool fans and players. The teammates who came from behind also came over and patted Chu Feng's shoulder, happy for the honor he had received. Summer Kingdom. Premier League broadcast room. Chu Feng's way ahead was blocked by 3 players, and he has not yet raised his speed. Is Chu Feng ready for a long pass? No. Chu Feng chose to hit the door directly. The ball crossed a huge arc and flew straight into the net. This amazing long-range shot actually flew into the goal. Chu Feng finished 5 Suns, Dinka, at Anfield Stadium. Chu Feng once again received applause from the home fans. Leicester City beat Liverpool 6-3 away. Jean Jun excitedly explained Chu Feng's earth-shattering long-range shooting. He is also pleased that Chu Feng can be respected by the Liverpool fans at Anfield Stadium. The barrage in the live broadcast room exploded again. I'm super. Am I watching a sci-fi movie about this long-range shooting? Chu Feng Bola. 5 Suns, Danko. Who else? Chu Feng is indeed a powerful killer. Strong is strong. Congratulations to Liverpool on-field massacre. As the referee blew the end of the game whistle, Chu Feng also walked towards the player passage. As he walked past Klopp, Kloppchen struck out. Chu Feng, you played really well today, and I hope to work with you in the future. Chu Feng also held out his hand to shake Klopp's hand. Thanks, if you have the chance. Chu Feng replied. Next round against Manchester City, hopefully you'll score a few more goals, haha. Klopp finished joking with Chu Feng and turned away. Klopp was surrounded by the microphones of the media. Coach Klopp, do you have anything to say about the outcome? Klopp replied, there is nothing to say, we lost, but we tried hard and got a little bit of luck. A reporter asked, do you have any views on Chu Feng's performance in this field? Klopp smiled wryly, what can you think? Heavenly gods, the last ball stunned me. The reporter also asked Klopp what he thought of Liverpool's player performance, and Klopp turned away after a brief answer. And the Springfield Ranieri was stopped by the reporter and asked. Ranieri praised all the players and the opposing team as usual, and then praised Chu Feng heavily, and then turned away. Inside the locker room, Chu Feng secretly checked the game rewards and mission rewards. System Series Quest, Swinging a Powerful Fist, Part 6 of 6. Mission rewards, choose a player who has served in the Premier League. System mission, swing the 6th fist at Houcheong. Mission objective, defeat any one of the Premier League Big 6s. Mission completed. System reward, strong physique 6, very low chance of injury. Won the Premier League Cup. Rating, 10 points. Contest prize, €400,000. Another perfect victory. The strong physique is full, and the probability of injury on the court has become extremely low. How low Chu Feng does not know, After all, the probability of this thing, the final explanation is in the system. As for the star skill, Chu Feng thought about it, he really couldn't think of any skills to ask for, and finally chose the elevator ball, Si Luo. Although Chu Feng's free kick is already very strong, but the skill is not pressurized, it should be expanded to expand the arsenal. Episode 114. The crazy European giants begin to fight for Chu Feng. With Leicester City's away win over Liverpool. The match was also put on its own front page by major media. Leicester City beat Liverpool 6-3 away. Leicester City's lack of physical fitness was exposed, and Liverpool suppressed Leicester City for the whole game. Liverpool were unlucky and hit the frame several times. Chu Feng faced Liverpool with 6 goals and bloodied the Anfield Stadium. Chu Feng Haoqiang Killer faced Big Six, fiercely 22 goals. Chu Feng reproduced the earth-shattering long-range shot so that the entire Anfield Stadium stood up. After the news spread, fans who watched the broadcast or not also began to discuss. Although it won, Leicester City won ugly, and the whole game was basically locked up in the right against the right to be locked up by me. I won 3 goals, Liverpool can't really. Leicester City's fitness is really not good, whether it is the enthusiasm of the defense, and the enthusiasm of the front, it is much lower. No way, a squad has played for half a season, and also played a few League Cup games by the way. If it were not for Chu Feng's stay, it might have collapsed earlier. Chu Feng is really awesome. A horse of physical horror. The shooting technique is also strong, and the ability to seize opportunities is also strong. You say that the last kick to shoot Chu Feng was not Meng. After a competition, Chu Feng officially confirmed the title of Premier League's powerful killer. With the approaching of the winter window period, Chu Fengqing has been sought after by major giants. Liverpool Melwood Training Base. Klopp was constantly discussing Chu Feng with the sports director. Klopp was excitedly saying, "We must get Chu Feng. Take him as the core of the team and build a young team." The sporting director was a little embarrassed. You have to know that Chu Feng's liquidated damages are 160 million, which should be no liquidated damages in the Premier League. That is, the price is clearly marked to tell us that if you want to take away Chu Feng, you will take 160 million out of the. You have also seen Chu Feng's play. To be honest, do not consider the economic value brought by the Xia Kingdom behind him, the value of pure competition. Chu Feng can fully deserve 160 million. Klopp continued to fight. That's 160 million, not including Chu Feng's signing fee, and Jorge Mendes' honorarium. Do you know how much it is? Plus the cost of starting to build a team with Chu Feng as the core, to buy players. The sports director also knew how strong Chu Feng was, but he was also helpless. If other Premier League teams snapped up Chu Feng, the whole Premier League would fall into his domination. And we can buy Chu Feng first, and then start building the team in 1 to 2 years. Klopp continued to fight. Let me think about it. The sports director began to get caught up in thought. No time to think. You just need to know that with Chu Feng, we will have the Premier League title, the Champions League, etc. Have it all. Klopp said excitedly. Okay. I talk to the boss first, and then I contact Jorge Mendes. Speaking of the sports director, he invited Klopp. Picked up the phone and called the boss. Such a scene, in Manchester United, Manchester City, is happening. Even Chelsea, which is in the midst of a coaching change, is preparing to start competing for Chu Feng. Real Madrid and Barca, there is no Chu Feng seat at the moment. They are also ready to start competing for Chu Feng. They know that this 17-year-old teenager, at least for the next 10 years, the entire football world will revolve around him. After Chu Feng washed Anfield in blood, Jorge Mendes' phone calls were never interrupted. All kinds of giant clubs extended their branches to Chu Feng and assured him of his commission. Leicester City Training Base. After training, Chu Feng, who had just washed Yu Jing, heard his teammates remind him to answer the phone after Chu Feng answered the phone and heard the excited voice of Jorge Mendes. Chu Feng, you don't know, all the big teams in Europe have consulted like me. Do you have any transfer intentions in this winter window? They are willing to use liquidated damages to take you directly away. Chu Feng took a moment, although he knew that it would definitely be quite hot now, but he did not expect that 160 million euros could have so many clubs interested. After all, he had only played for half a season, but Chu Feng still didn't have the idea of transferring in this winter window. Mendes, I don't have the intention of moving in the winter window at the moment. Chu Feng replied. From my professional point of view, Chu Feng, it is time for you to transfer now. Leicester City, while doing quite well, is about to hit the injury bandwagon. Chu Feng was silent, thinking that your professional eyes could see that even without me Leicester City, he could win the championship this season? Finding that Chu Feng was silent, Jorge Mendes thought that he had already moved Chu Feng, so he continued. You're done for Leicester City now, you're not from Leicester City's academy, now you've helped them get 50 points in half a season, and even if you go, they may be in the European zone. And now you can leave a transfer fund of 160 million for Leicester City to make a winter window reinforcement. Chu Feng thought about it or didn't let Mendes continue. He replied, I've decided that even though Leicester City players may end up on the road to the title because of lack of fitness, I will still try to move forward. Chu Feng finally decided to appease Jorge Mendes. After all, although he had his own interests to consider, it was really for Chu Feng's good. After all, no one could have imagined that Leicester City, with a championship odds of 1 to 5,000, would really be able to win the championship. Although I will not transfer in this winter window, I will definitely leave Leicester City after this season, so you can help me communicate with those clubs now and prepare for the summer window transfer. Jorge Mendes' mood also improved after hearing this. He was really afraid that Chu Feng would really be tied to the small club of Leicester City, which would seriously affect Chu Feng's future achievements. Okay, Chu Feng. I will try my best to fight for the best conditions for you. Mendes is very confident. After all, Chu Feng is so sought after, he can also take the initiative when he helped Chu Feng fight. Episode 115. Manchester City strikes. Leicester City crisis. The transfer communication between Jorge Mendes and Chu Feng ended. Chu Feng and his teammates were ready to face the strong enemy again. In the 19th round of the Premier League, Leicester City hosts Blue Moon Manchester City. With the time came John's Kingdom on December 29th. Leicester City players are ready to face Manchester City. Leicester's local newspaper, the Leicester Crystal, carried the headline on the day. Manchester City bravely face me. The cover photo is of Chu Feng standing at the King Power Stadium. Compared with the last time they faced the Premier League Big Six, this time Leicester is facing the Blue Moon Manchester City with a strong posture. Although the local fans of Leicester City have a happy attitude towards Leicester City's victory over Manchester City. However, other mainstream media in John's country have expressed their disapproval of Leicester City's game this time, and the game has been reported on the front page, but the foot is rarely seen. Good Lesquint. Leicester City deathmatch, meet Manchester City, Blue Moon or end Blue Fox fairy tale again. Leicester City's last round of fatigue showed that it was difficult to withstand the Manchester City expedition. Leicester City's unbeaten record ushered in the finalists. After Liverpool fought Leicester City, Manchester City finally profited. Although the fans of John Wah have recognized Chu Feng's strength, the other players in Leicester Feng in the last round are indeed exhausted. Otherwise, Liverpool's luck would have been a little worse, and Leicester City's unbeaten record would have been ended long ago. So it's not very bullish on Leicester City winning. Manchester City beat Sunderland 4-1 in one leg and are in full swing. Leicester City is definitely overwhelmed. Leicester City, although they are playing at home, are tired and cannot withstand City's attacking. Although Chu Feng is very strong, he can't participate in the defense, and Manchester City will not be as bad as Liverpool's luck. Chu Feng, come on. Cheer up Leicester. Don't lose, keep undefeated. As the Manchester City bus arrived at King Power Stadium, reporters were ready for the interview. Pre-match press conference. Pellegrini was interviewed under the flashing lights. A reporter asked, Head coach Pellegrini, what changes will you make to Leicester City this time and the last time you will make in terms of tactical car appearance? Pellegrini was smiling and in a better mood, and in the face of Leicester City, which was now exhausted, he thought he could finally get revenge. Pellegrini replied, Last time we were the main player, so this time we will not make any changes in the lineup. As for tactics, we will definitely focus on defending Chu Feng. Another reporter asked, Pellegrini manager, do you have any views on Chu Feng's performance against Liverpool? As if he had heard some joke, Pellegrini asked, Do you still use me to say that? Coach Klopp has finished what I want to say, and Chu Feng's performance is that of the heavenly god. Another reporter asked, Coach Pellegrini, do you have anything to say about Leicester City's lack of physical reserves? Pellegrini replied, There is nothing to say, Leicester City was also competitive in the last round. Otherwise it wouldn't have ended with a 3-goal lead over Liverpool, thank you. After saying that, Pellegrini turned and left, unwilling to dwell too much on the issue with reporters. And Leicester City coach Ranieri was not willing to tangle with the reporters more, and after casually saying a few perfunctory words to the reporters, he also turned around and left the venue. Back in the dressing room, Ranieri kept telling the players that the game should be used rationally. Don't press on at will. The offense is handed over to the frontcourt players as much as possible to use Chu Feng's breakthrough ability and set-piece ability. This time the game to strive for unbeaten can be accepted. It was also stressed that Yuan should not be injured. With the staff interrupting, it was time to enter. Rainieri stopped confessing. Instead, clap your hands to encourage the players. Said a word. Leicester City, come on. Leicester City's players also cheered. Chu Feng stood up and stood in the doorway, and every teammate who passed by clapped his hands in encouragement. Leicester City's players also recognized Chu Feng's core position in the team. If Chu Feng is not too young, he will definitely be the first captain of the team. As Chu Feng walked into the players' tunnel, many of City's players, De Bruyne, Aguero, and others nodded to Chu Feng in greeting. De Bruyne even directly reached out and shook hands with Chu Feng, expressing his appreciation and friendship for Chu Feng. When the players of both teams walked up the lawn of the King Power Stadium, what had been a cacophony in the stadium turned into a neat shout. Leicester City fans began to cheer to welcome Leicester City's players in. Summer Kingdom. Premier League broadcast room. Hello friends from the audience, welcome to the 19th round of the Premier League this season brought by UEFA Sports. I am Jean June, the commentator of this game. The two sides of this round are Leicester City and Blue Moon Manchester City. The home fans at King Power Stadium have begun to welcome the players in with cheers. Players from both sides have stepped into the King Power Stadium, and after 18 rounds of the Premier League, Leicester City have won 16, drawn 2, and accumulated 50 points, leading the Premier League table, and Manchester City have 37 points with 11 wins, 2 draws and 5 defeats, ranking 4th in the league. The last time the two sides fought, Leicester City beat Manchester City 5-2 at home. This round, because of the physical fitness problems of Leicester City players, Manchester City has a certain advantage before the game starts. Both sides continued to use the lineup of the previous round. Leicester City still continued to use 4-4-2, and Manchester City still maintained a 4-2-3-1 formation with Aguero as a single arrow. The broadcast footage was given to Chu Feng, who in the last round of the game against Liverpool, in the unstable state of his teammates, still completed the 5 yuan of the single middle school. His state is still hot. The game is about to start. Let me paddle Chu Feng's performance today. The barrage in the live broadcast room was all cheered for Chu Feng and Leicester City. Chu Feng did a hat-trick and beheaded Manchester City again. Chu Feng, come on. The rest of Leicester City players should also cheer up. Chu Feng, come on. It doesn't matter if I lose, I'll raise you when I return home. Finish. Episode 116. Chu Feng's double collision wall cooperation creates Manchester City oolong. King Power Stadium. Leicester City vs Manchester City. As soon as the game began, City gave Leicester a chance to get off the hook. David Silva carried the ball on the left side of Leicester's penalty area. Drinkauer intercepted him. David Silva slowly advanced in possession of the ball, when Drinko Watershin made a steal. David Silva knocked the ball back with his right foot to Fernandinho, a defender who entered Leicester City's half. Fernandinho received the ball and directly tucked the ball straight into the Leicester City penalty area. The ball went straight through Leicester City with 4 players. Sterling also inserted the penalty area in the first place. Control the ball with your right foot and adjust directly to the goal. Goalkeeper Kasper struggled to pounce on the ball, but the ball jumped past him and flew into the net just as Leicester City's players were frustrated by the goal they had conceded just starting. The referee raised the flag, Sterling was offside, and the goal was invalid. The Leicester City players instantly returned to the pitch from hell. 10th minute. Leicester City attacked the outside of the Manchester City penalty area, in front of the front. Chu Feng held the ball in the middle of the road, and 3 Leicester City players and 4 Manchester City players who returned to the defense were all accelerating towards the penalty area. Chu Feng sent the ball straight to Vardy, who sped up and controlled the ball in the penalty area. Otamendi came over and pressed against Vardy. A small movement of his right hand put pressure on Vardy's waist, and Vardy's center of gravity was unstable when he dribbled the ball. Vardy looked at the referee and loudly commented on Otamendi's hand movements, but referee Craig simply ignored Wayuyu's statement. Craig didn't see Otamendi's small movements at all, only that Otamendi's body had just touched Vardy, and Vardy fell to the ground. An angry Vardy kept complaining to the referee, and Otamendi on the side spread his hands to look at the referee, showing his innocence. The referee showed Vardy the Yellowstone card directly. Faced with not only not getting a penalty, but also a yellow jewel card, Vardy gave up the complaint under the pull of his teammates. 16th minute. Leicester City, then Manchester City issued a wonderful combination in the half. Midfielder Albrighton charged the left side of the penalty area with the ball, with De Bruyne running with him in front of him to intercept the ball. Albrighton sent the ball straight to Derinkovic on the left and then continued to thrust in on his own. Derinkovic received the ball, drawing the defense from the left. Then go on to pass the ball short to Albrighton, who was running forward. Albrighton received the ball while running, did not slow down and directly knocked the ball to Chu Feng, who had just passed by, and continued to run forward. Chu Feng's receiving of the ball attracted the attention of most of the Manchester City players, but Chu Feng was also just as Albrighton hit the wall. Football has been sent to Albrighton by Chu Feng. Albrighton received the ball and slowed down to adjust and shot straight into the far corner of the goal. Manchester City goalkeeper Joe Hart fell to the ground to save, blocked the ball, and the ball continued to move to the right of the penalty area. Unfortunately, Mahrez at the back post was a step late and the ball was already in front of goal. Mahrez held his head in both hands, frustrated by his late arrival and missing an empty goal. In the 21st minute of the match, Chu Feng and Derinkovic were near the left sideline of the Manchester City penalty area. At the back, Yaya Touré pressed Chu Feng closely, and fullback Sonia was close to the defense of Derinkovic. Chu Feng swept the ball to Derinkovic with his left foot. Yaya Touré's body center of gravity subconsciously tilted in the direction of the football. Chu Feng directly accelerated away from Yaya Touré and charged towards the penalty area. Although Derinkovic had not yet delivered the ball, Yaya Touré had already chased after Chu Feng. But the speed gap between the two was too obvious. Chu Feng started first, and previously received the ball sent by the Derinkovic collision with the wall. Directly into the penalty area. Because there are many players from both sides in the penalty area, Chu Feng continues to move forward and it is difficult to complete the shot. Chu Feng swept the ball directly in front of the goal with his foot. At the front point, Albrighton's outstretched foot did not reach the football, and the middle tile by and mouth Manchester City back Mangala are the same as shin foot. Mangala poked the ball into the goalpost, but the goal line bounced back, hitting him in the arm and bouncing back into the goal. Goalkeeper Joe Hart, who turned his head to look at the goalpost and then moved in the direction of the bounce of the football, did not expect the bouncing football to hit Mangala. There was no timely interception, only to look back and send the football into the net. Manchester centre-back Mangala had a frustrated look on his face, but the ball couldn't blame him, and if he hadn't stretched his foot, it would have been stabbed by Vardy. Although Vardy did not score the goal, he still celebrated with his teammates in the middle of the goal to the home of the stadium of the Court of King Power. Leicester City fans began cheering for the goal, and some fans waved flags in their hands. Once again, the blue ocean of the King Power Stadium surged up, and the roar of the sea echoed throughout the King Power Court. The Manchester City players looked at the familiar blue ocean, but this time the blue ocean wasn't going to be raging for them. John's Premier League broadcast station. After Chu Feng and Derinkovic textbook 2-over-2 collision with the wall, Chu Feng continued to rush towards the penalty area with the ball. Chu Feng chose to sweep the ball towards the goal in the penalty area. Vardy and centre-back Mangala scrambled for the ball and the ball hit the upright and bounced towards Vardy and Mangala. The ball refracts and flies into the net. It's a oolong ball. The ball catapulted into Mangala's arm and refracted in. Mangala is quite frustrated. Through this Mangala's oolong ball. Leicester City take a 1-0 lead at home over Blue Moon Manchester City. This dramatic scene also made the narrator feel funny. Fans watching the broadcast were also discussing the ball. Isn't this Mangala a spy for Leicester City? Send a goal straight to Leicester. It's like if Mangala doesn't get his foot, the ball won't go in. There's Vardy at the back point, and even if there's no Vardy, there's a Mahrez. I really can't blame Mangala, but it doesn't matter, Manchester City still has a chance, and when Leicester City's offensive rhythm is over, it is Manchester City playing around Leicester City. Mangala is stupid. It's a pity that Chu Feng missed an assist. Episode 117. Playing with fire in front of Leicester City Gate. King Power Stadium. Pellegrini, the main coach of Manchester City on the sidelines, was helpless, and he was attacked so early, or a oolong ball. Although he knew that Mangala could not be blamed for the goal, Pellegrini complained about Mangala. Leicester City took the lead prematurely, and if they choose to stick to it, then Manchester City's physical advantage will be difficult to show. Pellegrini hopes that the next game will be carried out in the way originally planned. On the other side, Ranieri, standing up from his seat, faced the Leicester City fans, clenched his right fist and kept shaking it. Express the excitement of scoring goals with the fans. Chu Feng on the field was in a bit of a bad mood, missing an assist for no reason. Mangarak I. Assist into a killing chicken. 31st minute of the match. Leicester City goalkeeper played with fire in front of Casper's door. After receiving a return pass from his teammate on the right side of the penalty area, he faced the pressure of Manchester City striker Aguero, and not only did not send the ball directly, he also showed off his possession skills in front of Aguero. Snap the ball behind you with your right foot and reincarnate to control it. Aguero's continued pressing, leaving Casper powerless to hold the ball, passed the ball back to defender Fox. De Bruyne was already intercepting football in front of Fox. De Bruyne took control of the ball and turned to move towards the bottom line. Fox stepped forward to press forward and De Bruyne sent the ball straight into the box. Goalkeeper Lespa jumped high without touching the ball. David Silva, in the middle of the road, took the ball near the 12-yard line. Leicester City fullback Danny Simpson and centre-back Hutter did not dare to press forward, all pulling the firing rod of David Silva, the winner of the goal. Goalkeeper Casper, who landed on the ground after jumping, also hurried to the middle to defend. Leicester City midfielder Inler also pressed for the ball just received by David Silva. David Silva, unable to adjust the angle due to Inler's interference, forced a shot into the middle of the goal. Goalkeeper Casper pounced on the middle of the road, intercepted the ball and then disengaged, once again pounced on the offhand football before the Manchester City players could make up for it. Finally defused this dangerous situation. This ball, whether it is the players on the field or the fans, is very worried. Thankfully, Casper made up for the mistakes he had made. Manchester City coach Pellegrini on the sidelines, one-handed forehead, did not score this goal. Leicester City gate will give a big gift, the players did not catch. Manager Pellegrini began to feel a little uneasy about the start of today's game. On the other side, Ranieri also held his forehead with one hand, but the cure was to wipe the cold sweat from his forehead. If the goal is scored by Manchester City, although it is only an equalizer, but both tactically and in the heart of goalkeeper Casper, Leicester City will be at a disadvantage. John's Premier League broadcast station. Goalkeeper Casper received a return pass from Fox and Aguero stepped forward to grab it. Casper didn't send the ball straight out, but showed off his possession skills in place, which is playing with fire. Casper forced the ball back to Fox, was cut off by De Bruyne, who sent the ball into the box. David Silva, under the disturbance of Inler, could only force a shot into the goal, and Casper saved the ball. Casper really almost played with fire and set himself on fire, but in the end he made up for his mistakes. But so good that almost Manchester City can't grasp it, and it also has a certain blow to them. The narrator became excited by the thrilling scene that had just taken place. Fans watching the broadcast also began to discuss this thrilling scene. I paint. What happened to Casper? Scored a ball so inflated? Playing foot technique in front of South American players? I can only say that it is fortunate that Casper finally made up for it, otherwise I would have rushed to kill him. I'm super. What's going on with Manchester City right now? Leicester City goalkeeper made such a big mistake, did not grasp it. It scared me into a cold sweat. Casper really don't play with fire like this after that. In the 36th minute of the game, Leicester City was half-timed. Sterling received the ball on the left. Under Kante's interference, the ball was close to the Leicester City penalty area. Midfielder Inler on the left side of the penalty area was pressing down on Sterling. Sterling changed rhythmically, then turned, moving one step towards the outside of the penalty area, pulling out the angle. With a clever pass, the ball rolled towards the penalty area. As the ball passed through centre-back Hutter, Hutter extended his foot to intercept it, but the ball was too fast and Hutter knelt directly on one leg on the lawn. The ball continued to move forward, passing by Manchester City striker Aguero, who was closely defended by centre-back Morgan. Morgan thought Aguero would catch the ball and turn around, so he stuck to Aguero and stuck him, preventing him from turning comfortably. But Aguero didn't catch the ball and let the ball slip through his feet. De Bruyne at the back post picked up the ball after pushing Leicester City fullback Fox away at the point when Morgan had just turned around to make up for it. De Bruyne forced a turn to lose his balance and completed the shot before falling to the ground. Goalkeeper Casper failed to block and the ball crossed directly in front of him. Goal. Deblauer equalized. Deb rushed to the sidelines and shouted loudly at the camera, venting the emotions of falling behind and the excitement after the equalizer. Aguero, who followed behind, jumped directly on De Bruyne's back and celebrated with De Bruyne. The City teammates behind them also jumped on their backs, knowing that they had crushed De Bruyne. John's Premier League. Sterling moved back and forth between Leicester City players, facing the defense and sending the ball into the box with a straight kick. Aguero didn't have room to turn around and cleverly slipped the ball out of De Bruyne. De Bruyne forced to turn to shoot. The goal is the 37th minute of the game. Goal by De Bruyne. Blue Moon. Manchester City drew 1-1 away to Leicester City. The commentator excitedly explained the equalizer goal. Manchester City fans watching the broadcast were also very excited. "I'm super. Sterling, this crowd of flashing new on yo eh. The last foot pass was also very good." City finally equalized and Aguero cheered. Cheers on De Bruyne. "I'll just say Leicester can't defend Manchester City. Direct movement battle breaks the door." Episode 118. Chu Feng spoon penalty, helpless goalkeeper. King Power Stadium. Manchester City coach Pellegrini excitedly hugged the assistant coach next to him. After a quick equalizer, Leicester City must attack if they want to win. As long as they choose to attack, the disadvantage of lack of physical fitness will be exposed more quickly. It's time for City to strike back. Leicester City coach Ranieri covered his face with his hands and was a little frustrated. Match 39th minute. Manchester City attack. Sterling dribbled the ball at high speed in the middle of the road towards the Leicester City penalty area. When encountering Cantor interception, I want to change direction and accelerate through. Cantor tripped Sterling with his foot straight out. City scored a free kick from outside the penalty area. De Bruyne and Aguero are now on the ball. The referee blew a whistle and De Bruyne aimed at the dead corner of the goal and directly lifted his feet. Unfortunately, the football did not hit the front goal and did not make a threat. Match 42nd minute. Leicester City launched a counterattack. Mahrez advanced from the right to the edge of the penalty area. Intercepted by City fullback Kolarov, Mahrez did not force a breakthrough. Instead, after observing, the ball is directly in the middle of the road. Chu Feng, Valdi, split the left side of the penalty area and inserted at high speed in the middle. The unguarded Vardy took another step slower. The ball was more streaked than in front of him and continued to move in the direction of Chu Feng. When Chu Feng, who was being watched by fullback Sarnia, slowed down to prepare for possession, Manchester City defender Otamendi returned to defend and blocked the ball out of the box. Alberton, who was following in the middle, forced a shot from outside the box and was blocked by centre-back Mangala with his body. The ball bounced again towards Mahrez on the right, who rushed towards the ball and chose to volley directly. Mahrez did not suppress the football, but directly kicked the ball, and the football flew to the fans' stands, causing a cry of surprise. Manchester City coach Pellegrini on the sidelines was also startled into a cold sweat by Leicester City's continuous attacks. Fortunately, the Manchester City defense did not quietly block the continuous blockage, saving the Manchester City goal. Leicester City coach Ranieri sighed deeply, and in the face of Manchester City's continuous wonderful blocking, there is really nothing to blame. 45th minute of the match. City attacked. Sterling on the left side of the Leicester City penalty area had the ball on the left side of the penalty area. Fullback Danny Simpson stepped forward to intercept and Sterling concentrated on making a move to break through from the left, as Danny Simpson stepped to Sterling's left. Sterling sent the ball straight through the crotch into the left side of the penalty area. Fernandinho received the ball, and Leicester City centre-back Hutt kept tangling with Fernandinho. Fernandinho really couldn't shake off Hutt and could only leave the ball in place to attract Hutter. Fernandinho had just set the ball in place when David Silva, who was plugged in at high speed, took control of the ball. Hutt turned and began to pestering David Silva again. David Silva turned straight down the bottom and hoisted the ball into the middle. Unguarded Sterling raised his foot and shot straight up, the ball deflected off the goalpost. Last minute of first half stoppage time. Goalkeeper Casper drove the ball straight into the center circle. Kanté took possession of the ball, watched his teammates in front of him and then sent the ball straight into the middle. Vardy accelerated forward, and was constantly pulled by Manchester City defender Mangara, limiting Vardy's acceleration. Other City players also kept jamming Leicester City's front pressers, and Manchester City goalkeeper Joe Hart directly attacked. Joe Hart flew the ball straight off the sideline. Referee Craig blew the whistle directly at the end of the first half. In the Manchester City dressing room at halftime, head coach Pellegrini and the players also kept mentioning that they had to press out to play in the second half, constantly forcing Leicester City, disrupting the offensive rhythm of their doors. In the Leicester City dressing room, Ranieri also said that at the beginning of the second half, he would take advantage of Manchester City's lack of preparation and launch a wave of fast-paced attacks to try to score goals. If it did not achieve results, it began to turn to defense, relying on Chu Feng's personal ability to open the situation. The start of the second half. Leicester City attacked. Leicester City's 9 players all overcame halftime. Morgan held the ball in the middle and was forced by Aguero to send the ball to the left. At this time, Leicester City and Manchester City, together with 9 players, all maintained a line in the Manchester City front court. While doing offside traps, we are doing anti-offside. Chu Feng did not rush out because he was pulled on the shoulder by the Manchester City fullback. Vardy in the middle of the road accelerated straight into the box and held the ball as the ball was near the bottom line. Without an angle, Vardy swept the ball towards the center. Mahrez stepped in ready to finish the shot. But Manchester City centre-back Otamendi cut the ball straight off. Defender Fernandinho directly kicked the ball out. 2 minutes later, Leicester City attacked again. Leicester City have already penetrated the heart of Manchester City. Majors on the right side carried the ball and, under the defense of 2 Manchester City players, did not launch an attack from the line. Mahrez could only pass the ball back to Drinkwaard in the middle to reorganize the attack. After Darren Cower received the ball, City midfielder David Silva, who passed the ball directly to the edge of the penalty area, failed to intercept with his foot in the middle of the two. Vardy didn't stop the ball and knocked the ball straight to Alberton on the right side of the edge of the penalty area. Alberton also did not stop the ball and passed directly to the back of the box. The continuous collision between the 3 of them allowed the 2 in the 4-man defensive center to send the ball out accurately. And the 4 Manchester City players simply could not intercept Chu Feng on the left side of the road at high speed. Unloading the ball with his left foot and just about to shoot with his foot, Manchester City fullback Sonia directly pulled Chu Feng's shirt and pulled Chu Feng down. The referee did not hesitate to blow off the game and showed the yellow jewel card directly to Sarnia. And awarded a penalty. Manchester City Stadium players surrounded referee Craig to complain. Referee Craig shook his head and held out 2 fingers to point into his eyes. The protest was ineffective, and his eyes were very crisp. The Manchester City players had no choice but to wait for Leicester City's free throw. As the first penalty shooter in the team, Chu Feng is now on the 12-yard line. With the referee whistle, Chu Feng helped run. Then the rhythm changes. A direct spoon penalty flew straight into the middle of the goal. Manchester City gate face Catch-a-Hat, deceived, pounced on the right column. It became the background board of Chu Feng's spoon penalty, weakly pounding the lawn. Episode 119. Horsetail joint, an incredible goal. With Chu Feng's penalty scored, Leicester City fans at the King Power Stadium began to cheer wildly again. The blue ocean surged again. Chu Feng and other players also rushed to the sidelines to cheer and celebrate with the fans. Siagwa. Premier League broadcast room. Drinkwaard catches the ball. A precise short pass between Dringholt and Waldy and Alberton. The wonderful 3-man collision with the wall allowed Alberton to send the ball into the box in the middle of the crowd. Vardy slowed down again, but there was Chu Feng at the back point. Chu Feng unloaded the ball and got up to prepare to hit the goal. Chu Feng was directly dragged to the ground by Sarnia. Penalty. The referee awarded a penalty. As the first penalty shootout in the team, Chu Feng once again stood on the 12-yard line. Chu Feng helped run to shoot. It's a spoon penalty. It's a spoon penalty. Chu Feng deceived the goalkeeper and finally used a spoon penalty to break the Manchester City goal. With this goal, Chu Feng scored in 15 consecutive rounds of the Premier League. Leicester City lead Manchester City 2-1 at home. Jean June made the spoon penalty excited. The barrage in the live broadcast room began to roll wildly again. I'm super. What is a spoon penalty, as if it were a matter of quality? Chu Feng bull ah. Chu Feng bull ah. Scoring in 15 consecutive rounds, can anyone break this record? Chu Feng finally scored, and he was not afraid of losing the game, he was afraid that Chu Feng would not score, and Chu Feng would. Will this game be lost? Leicester City lead by 1 goal, as long as it is defensive, I don't believe Manchester City can score 2. King Power Stadium. Manchester City coach Pellegrini habitually stated about this penalty, but he also knew that there was no meaning. When Chu Feng controlled the football, the obvious pulling action, there was nothing to complain about, but after Chu Feng scored, Pellegrini still felt frustrated. It was not easy for Chu Feng. Today's state does not seem to be so good. After halftime, Chu Feng has not scored, and now Chu Feng has scored one, and if the state returns, Pellegrini will be even more uncomfortable. Pellegrini could only command the players and continue to attack. 50th minute of the match. Manchester City's counter-attack. Fernandinho dribbled into Leicester's midfield. With no one around to defend, chose to go straight to the middle. The ball went through the feet of two Leicester City players. David Silva turned his back to control the ball. Because there was no one around to grab him, David Silva turned around easily. After David Silva observed, the diagonal plug crossed the Leicester City backline to the rear. De Bruyne, who was on the same line as the Leicester City backline on the edge of the penalty area, started from the right. Leicester City fullback Fox also started, and although Fox was not fast, he kept getting stuck in front of De Bruyne. Keeping De Bruyne from rushing, Fox was knocked down in the penalty area by De Bruyne. Goalkeeper Kasper struck out to save the ball. 53rd minute of the match. City continued to attack. Sterling had already carried the ball to the left side of the Leicester City penalty area. Leicester City fullback Danny Simpson kept blocking the fence in front of Sterling. Sterling tried several times to get rid of it, all of which failed. Sterling had no choice but to pass the ball back to David Silva in the middle to reorganize the attack. David Silva, who was originally on the outside of the box after the possession of the ball, quickly stepped forward to force David Silva to hang the ball into the box before Kanté stretched out his feet. Sterling, who was entangled by Fox, began to insert himself, and under Fox's defense, he fell down. Sterling's teammate Aguero directly raised his hands to the referee. The referee ignored the complaint and turned away. Leicester City then launched a counterattack. Goalkeeper Kasper sent the ball to the feet of centre-back Hutter. Leicester City's midfield began to press into the Manchester City half, allowing Manchester Tony to slowly move towards the backfield. Hutter has dribbled the ball to Leicester City's front court. When two Manchester City players came to press for it, a long pass from Hutter found Mahrez, who had successfully countered offside. Mahrez made a mistake in stopping the ball and did not form a single knife, and by the time Mahrez controlled the ball again, City fullback Kolarov was already close to him. Mahrez tried several breakouts and opted for a direct cross. Vardy in the middle of the road plugged in, stopped the ball on his chest, chased the ball, and aimed at the far corner of the goal directly. Goalkeeper Joe Hart fell to the ground and stopped the ball in time. Alberton plugged in a shot that was blocked straight off the frame by centre-back Otamendi. Match 56th minute. Chu Feng was inserted in front of the middle of the road and received a pass from Darren Kawart. Chu Feng accelerated to control the ball, and Chu Feng just entered the Manchester City accompaniment field. There are two Manchester City players in front of them making up for the penalty area, and they also turn back to pay attention to Chu Feng from time to time. Manchester City defender Otamendi pulled Chu Feng's right arm, hoping to slow down Chu Feng's speed. Chu Feng also used his right hand to continuously push away Otamendi, and then he still charged towards the Manchester City penalty area. Otamendi, who couldn't hold back to see it, was ready to stretch out his feet to destroy the ball, but because Chu Feng was too fast. Not only did the ball not destroyed, but because when the foot was extended, only one foot was supported, but it was turned around and thrown to the ground by Chu Feng's car. When he was about to enter the penalty area, Chu Feng slammed the ball with his right foot and inserted it towards the middle of the penalty area. The two Manchester City players who had previously defended had intercepted Chu Feng in the penalty area to intercept Chu Feng's continuous cycling in the middle of them, so that the two who were bent on blocking, running in the wrong position, collided together. Chu Feng quickly moved a step towards the bottom line and found the angle of the shot. Hit the door directly with your left foot. Goalkeeper Joe Hart quickly fell to the ground and extended his left leg to block the ground ball, with both hands toward the flying football. Unfortunately, the ball was too fast, and Joe Hart did not intercept it with both hands. Goal. The ball was scored. An incredible goal. Chu Feng once again single-handedly entered the opponent's penalty area from his own half to complete the goal. Although this time there was no wonderful pass, but in the fierce physical confrontation, the ball actually brought the opposing player to the ground. Or to all the owners of the King Power Stadium, a kind of horse-riding joint, single-rider heroism. Episode 120. De Bruyne's scorpion swings its tail. After Chu Feng broke through the door alone, the fans of the entire King Power Stadium began to cheer again. Constantly shouting Chu Feng's name, the shouting slowly became neat and rhythmic. Chu Feng! Chu Feng! Chu Feng and his teammates rushed to the sidelines to celebrate with the fans. Xiagua. Premier League broadcast room. Chu Feng received a pass from Delingervoort in the middle of the road, but Otamendi behind him constantly wanted to jam Chu Feng's body. Chu Feng's speed is too fast, Otamendi's position is not enough to directly start pulling Chu Feng up. Chu Feng kept pushing Otamendi away with his right arm, and Otamendi gradually became less of Chu Feng's rhythm and chose to stretch his feet. Otamendi fell to the ground, and Chu Feng entered the forbidden area. The two Manchester City defenders knocked down under the constant rhythm change in Chu Feng's penalty area, and Chu Feng took a step forward to open the angle. Chu Feng directly hit the door. The goal is. Chu Feng single-handedly rode through the level to complete the Makai twice. Chu Feng has once again contributed to Leicester City. Help Leicester City pull the gap to 2 points. Jean Jun was proud of Chu Feng's wonderful goal. This was entirely the embodiment of Chu Feng's personal ability. The barrage in the live broadcast room also exploded directly. I am super. Chu Feng's physical confrontation ability is really strong, was pulled all the way by Otamendi, not only did not fall to the ground, but Otamendi himself fell. Although Otamendi was embarrassed, he still did something. If he hadn't dragged Chu Feng might have thrown off the two players who returned to the defense and formed a single knife. Haha, Chu Feng stepped on the bicycle in the penalty area, he did not move, but the two Manchester City defenders crashed down together in a panic. Every time I saw Chu Feng riding alone to break through the level, my blood boiled quickly. Chu Feng is really awesome. King Power Stadium. Manchester City coach Pellegrini was expressionless, as if he was unmoved by Chu Feng's goal. Pellegrini just didn't want the players to feel depressed, so Pellegrini not only didn't show frustration. Still standing on the sidelines, directing the players, defending and organizing the attack. Leicester City coach Ranieri also did not show a happy look. After all, the difference between the 2 points, if Leicester's lack of adult fitness is quickly reflected. Maybe within a few minutes City will be back. 60th minute of the match. Manchester City's attack. De Bruyne carried the ball at the Leicester City half. Fullback Fox did not press closely, but chose the route of the finished De Bruyne first. De Bruyne crossed directly from the right. Otamendi jumped up and headed the ball towards goal. But the strength was not enough, or the goalkeeper Kasper confiscated the ball. Match 63rd minute. It was another attack by Manchester City. David Silva carried the ball in the middle of Leicester City's midfield. After observing, a long pass found De Bruyne, who was empty on the right. The football caught the attention of the Leicester City players as it passed by Yaya Touré, but Yaya Touré slipped the ball through. De Bruyne had the ball in control and headed towards the right side of the penalty area. Intercepted by fullback Fox, the foot appeared to be a cross, but in fact it was shot towards the far corner of the goal. But De Bruyne's fake fax shot deceived the goalkeeper, but the ball flew straight out of the bottom line and did not hit the position. De Bruyne looked disappointed, he really wanted to help the team score goals. 65th minute of the match. Leicester City attacked on the right. Mahrez carried the ball at the Manchester City half. Manchester City fullback Kolarov, back Fernandinho, one man intercepted, one man stared at Mahrez. Mahrez slowly headed towards the right side of the penalty area with the ball, and after reaching the right side of the penalty area, Mahrez swung a false shot and crossed with his feet. All three of City's defenders have taken the top. Chu Feng, who was playing at the back of the point, controlled the two balls. The two Manchester City defenders who landed on the ground all blocked Chu Feng's backhands near the bottom line of the far corner, and Chu Feng had no choice but to choose to shoot from a small angle. Joe Hart punched out with 2 fists and knocked the ball out of the box. The ball jumped high, and for a moment the players in the Manchester City penalty area tensed up and prepared to compete for the top. Manchester City back Otamendi continued to send the ball out of the box, facing the pressing Sterling, directly kicked the ball out of the sideline. 68th minute of the match. Yaya Touré lifted his foot from outside the Leicester City penalty area to send the ball into the box. The ball flew behind De Bruyne and De Bruyne was too late to turn around and control the ball in the face of centre-back Morgan's reinforcements. De Bruyne jumped up a scorpion and swung the ball towards the middle of the penalty area. Aguero, who was closely defended in the middle of the penalty area, looked at the incoming football. Fullback Danny Simpson had reached out to intercept the ball and Aguero jumped up and twisted his body. The body center of gravity is downwards, and the right foot is raised high to hit the football. Then fall to the ground. Goalkeeper Kasper had no idea Aguero could complete the shot and was now motionless. Goal. De Bruyne and Aguero passed the ball in an unconventional way, and one finished the shot in an unconventional way. The players on both sides were a bit stunned by the two men's unconventional way of handling the already unsolvable ball. John's Premier League broadcast station. Yaya Touré hoisted the ball into the penalty area, but unfortunately it was too small and passed to De Bruyne's back. De Bruyne, who was blocked, didn't have time to turn around, and De Bruyne jumped up and chose the scorpion to swing his tail to pass the ball to the middle. Aguero in the middle of the road stretched out his feet in front of Leicester City players to block, and the ball was about to be released before it landed. Aguero also jumped up and tried his best to raise his right foot. Fight with Leicester City defenders for the ball. Aguero completed the shot. Incredible, after a football pass, De Bruyne's scorpion swung his tail and forced the ball into the middle. When the ball was too late to land, Aguero also jumped up and tried to lift his feet to complete the shot. The balls that were originally not had a chance were forced back by two people. The narrator was thrilled with this wonderful attack. Even the fans who watched the broadcast found it a bit incredible. I'm super. I thought Yaya Touré had passed the flaw and the attack was over. I didn't expect De Bruyne to be able to cross the ball more. There's hope. Come on Manchester City. Only one goal behind, come on. Righteousness.